Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 91 based on novel. So let's start. The Second World War finally came to an end with the death of the Yimo Emperor. Such a result caused the world to completely descend into celebration. The hope after despair that everyone experienced contained excitement and elation that was difficult to suppress. Originally, they had thought that this world would fall under the control of the Yimo. Who could have imagined that there would be a final twist at the end of this road? Not only did they turn the situation around, they had also completely eliminated all threat from the Yimo. This world, which had been ravaged by the Yimo for a long time, had finally become peaceful. 1 month after the end of the World War, the three great alliances began to disband one after another. Everything returned to the right track. There would perhaps still be many cruel struggles in the world, but there would also be a continuous stream of strong individuals being honed from such struggled. In the far-off and distant future, a monster-like genius might once again appear from nowhere, and advance into the legendary ancestor stage. The world would ultimately continue to progress. However, everyone knew that even if someone else advanced to the ancestor stage, that person would have difficulty surpassing the figure who had rescued them at their most hopeless moment. The martial ancestor, Lin Dong. Ultimate ancestor stage experts might appear many times, but his other status was unique. No one could surpass it. It was the Dimension Master. The true master of this plane. Back then, the reason the symbol ancestor and Yimo Emperor had come to this world was to control the Dimension Fetus and become the Dimension Master in order to obtain greater power. However, they had ultimately failed, while Lin Dong had succeeded. Within Dao sect, Lin Dong stood beside a cliff on a towering peak. He lowered his head and looked at Dao sect under the swirling clouds. Ling Qingshu, Qingtan, Little Martin, Little Flame, the Life-Death Master and the others were standing behind him and looking at his back. Although this back appeared rather thin, it possessed a prestige which could not be described. This prestige originated from his position as the Dimension Master. I am prepared. Although she ignited her reincarnation, it has not been long since she did so. There should still be some of her reincarnation fragments in this world. If I can find her reincarnation fragments, I will be able to send her into a reincarnation and even ensure her memories remain. Lin Dong gazed at Dao sect. He slowly began to speak a moment later. How much confidence do you have? Joy flashed across the Flame Master and the rest's eyes when they heard this. However, he still asked in a worried manner. Although Lin Dong was all-powerful now, igniting one's reincarnation was equivalent to death. How could it possibly be easy to save someone after that? It should be 50%. Lin Dong muttered. A trace of worry had unknowingly flashed in his heart, while his hand involuntarily clenched tightly. Although he currently possessed the strongest power in this world, what was the purpose of such strength if he could not even save someone he loved? He cultivated for the sake of protecting those whom he wished to protect. Yet, he now discovered that he could not do so. A soft hand gently held his large hand. There was a smooth and warm feeling from it, causing Lin Dong's emotions to calm down. He turned his head and looked at the fairy-like Ling Qingshu in white. Her pretty eyes were quietly looking at him. The gentleness within them could not be hidden. Thank you. Lin Dong also gave a tender look to Ling Qingshu, who had not spoken much. Gratitude and warmth flowed within his heart as he tightly held her hand. She had always been like this, quietly hiding all of her emotions deep within her heart. She could give up her haughtiness for him, and become gentle to comfort him. When his heart was at its weakest, she always quietly stood by his side. Even if she did not speak, such actions were able to let Lin Dong feel some warmth. However, this stubbornness of hers would at times cause one's heart to ache slightly. In the past, I only watched you from afar. Now, I will have to try and make up for it. Ling Qingshu smiled and softly said. Lin Dong grinned. Given Ling Qingshu's aloof character, only by truly walking into the deepest part of her hurt would one be able to break the layers of cold ice that pushed others far away, and enjoy the passion and gentleness reserved for a single person. It was evident that Lin Dong had initially not reached this level. Hence, the Ling Qingzhu of that time did not have any responsibility to take care of him, and there was no reason for compensation. If we are talking about compensation, you have already done so when you taught me the zenith sensing art. Ling Qingzhu was slightly startled, and her pretty face quickly flushed red. She bit her red lips and stared at Lin Dong. In her eyes was a bashfulness that could not be hidden. You know about it. I have known since the beginning. Lin Dong looked at Ling Qingzhu with very tender eyes. Ling Qingzhu's teeth bit her red lips tightly. She lifted her hand in embarrassment and gently hammered Lin Dong's arm. She had originally thought that she had hid it very well. It was unexpectedly that this fellow had actually been putting up an act. You should quickly begin. Lin Dong smiled and nodded. Without further ado, he sat down on the mountain peak as both of his eyes slowly shut. Ling Qingzhu and the others by the side could feel an extremely mysterious fluctuation being emitted when he shut his eyes. This fluctuation was very swift. In the blink of an eye, it had already enveloped the entire world. After which, it began to search inch by an inch, attempting to find the reincarnation fragments that might have been scattered in this world. Lin Dong's will spread over this world. He used the power of the dimension and searched for a certain familiar presence that existed deep in his heart. This search took an entire month. However, Lin Dong's face gradually paled with the flow of time. He realized that despite having activated the dimension power to search every corner of this world, he was still unable to find even a slight trace of those familiar reincarnation fragments. This futile effort caused slivers of panic to rise in his calm heart. Such a result was really unbearable for him. Hence, he suddenly clenched his teeth and once again activated the dimension power. This time, he searched every place related to her. Dao Sect, the unique devil region and the area where they had once fought for the immortal Yuan ancient tree. Normally speaking, reincarnation fragments would remain in the place that one had the most attachment to when one was alive. If Ying Huan's reincarnation fragments were still around, she would definitely be in these places. However, Lin Dong increased his area of search. However, the final result was still so cruel that he did not dare to believe it. 2 months later, Lin Dong opened his eyes. The expression within them had become rather hollow, and veins had extended on them. His body trembled slightly as he muttered, "Why can't I find her? Why? This method should have worked." Not much time had passed since she ignited her reincarnation, and it was impossible for even her reincarnation fragments to fade. Why is it like this? He painfully grabbed his head. It was as if a huge hole had suddenly opened in his heart. This unbearable feeling made his eyes turn blood red. "Lin Dong, what is going on?" An anxious voice was transmitted from the side, and Ling Qingzhu hurriedly appeared beside Lin Dong. Her nose felt sour when she saw the latter's messy appearance and quickly sat down beside him. Lin Dong lifted his head in a dull manner and looked at Ling Qingzhu. Like a helpless child, his eyes suddenly reddened even more. I can't find her, can't find." Ling Qingzhu's heart ached when she witnessed this rare display of weakness by Lin Dong. Her eyes also reddened. This world was currently immersed in the joy of having escaped a calamity. Who could imagine just how much pain the man, who had saved the world, felt in his heart? There is no need to hurry. We can slowly search for her. If we fail once, we can try a second time. We will definitely find her. She extended her slim arms and gently embraced Lin Dong. Her voice was so gentle it was as if she was cherishing a brittle piece of porcelain. Lin Dong tightly hugged Ling Qingzhu's narrow waist. A long time later, he clenched his teeth. There was a slightly crazed look in his eyes. "I will definitely find her." He once again shut his eyes and allowed his will to submerge into the land. However, there was a deep look of fear between his brows. He was afraid of the pain he would feel if he really could not find her. Ling Qingzhu observed the determined and somewhat tired face, as her eyes reddened. She was aware of the latter's stubborn character. His eyes were the same when he had left the great Yang Empire to chase her back then. It was perhaps this touching persistence that moved her. The Life-Death Master looked at the two individuals hugging from another mountain nearby, and she sighed softly. A complicated emotion appeared in her eyes. Another 2 months had passed when Lin Dong once again opened his eyes. This time, his expression was gloomy while his body faintly trembled. The dignity and aura of the Dimension Master was no longer present. What was the point of a person having such great power, if he could not even find the woman he loved? Ling Qingzhu looked at Lin Dong, whose expression was becoming increasingly hollow, while her heart ached more and more. However, she could only quietly accompany him. She was aware that his heart was definitely feeling extremely terrible. Hope had already become extremely faint. However, Lin Dong was ultimately unwilling to give up. Time flew by. Lin Dong opened his eyes time and time again atop the mountain. However, the light in his eyes grew increasingly dim. A dim and dull look filled his eyes, while the original lushness of the mountain forest seemed to gradually wither following the change in his mood. Hope was fading. Over this half a year, little Martin, Qingtan, the Life-Death Master and others had all come over. However, they were unable to say anything when they saw Lin Dong's appearance. In the end, they could only quietly leave. However, from beginning to end, a beautiful figure quietly waited and took care of him. When Lin Dong opened his eyes for the final time, the spirit in his eyes had completely vanished. Snow drifted down the sky, causing the entire world to appear silver-white and miserable. Ling Qingzhu looked at Lin Dong's spiritless eyes, as the tip of her nose reddened. She ultimately turned her head, as large teardrops dripped down with a splashing sound. In the end, they landed on Lin Dong's face. He rotated his head slightly, and gazed into the now red eyes on that beautiful face. "Sorry. I know," Ling Qingzhu softly said. She was aware that he would do the same for her. However, it is likely that she is also unwilling to see you torture yourself in such a manner. Lin Dong's hands trembled. He lowered his head, and said in a hoarse voice, "I have lost her in order to obtain such strength. Yet, I am unable to use this strength to bring her back." "Why? Why?" He suddenly lifted his head and roared with rage. A roar that also contained a heart-tearing pain. Majestic rain poured down from the sky and splattered against his face, making it impossible to tell if he was crying or if it was just the rain. Both of his fists crazily hammered the ground. It was as if he was sobbing tears of blood. His howls contained endless despair and pain as it spread into the distance. He had given this world hope, but had brought despair to himself. Countless Tao sect disciples looked towards that particular highest mountain. Their eyes turned completely red as they felt the pain within those howls, as a wave of sourness caused their eyes to become wet. Ying Xiaoxiao looked at the vaguely visible figure at the peak of the mountain. The despair in his voice allowed her to understand that the once warmly smiling and cute girl would never return. She covered her mouth as sounds of chopped sobbing appeared. By the side, Ying Xuanzi also had red eyes. As he turned his head, he appeared to become a lot older at this moment. Zhu Tong, Wu Dao, and others behind grew silent. The entire Dao sect was covered in a heartbreaking atmosphere. Failed. Little Martin, Qingtan, and the rest muttered as they watched this scene. The Flame Master and the others sat down on the ground in a disappointed manner. Back then, they had lost their master and the Devouring Master. Now, she was about to disappear? The Life-Death Master looked at everyone. She sighed softly and quietly withdrew. Atop the peak, Ling Qingzhu looked at the crazed Lin Dong. She could not help but hug him, while her eyes turned red. Lin Dong hugged Ling Qingzhu tightly and loudly cried like a child, "I am unable to find her, unable to find her, unable to find her. You have already done your best. All of us know this. I promised her that I will find her." Tears fell continuously from his face. His voice was hoarse. Ling Qingzhu's eyes were red as she hugged him. She could feel the intense pain in his heart. He had rescued this world, but was unable to save the one he loved. A petite figure arrived from afar, and sat down on the cliff. The Life-Death Master watched Lin Dong. This was the first time she had seen this usually strong man appear so sorrowful. "Why must you be so greedy? There is already someone worthy of your love beside you." Isn't it better to forget her? The Life-Death Master softly sighed and said. Lin Dong slowly shook his head and said in a hoarse voice, I will find her. I will never give up even if it is hopeless. The Life-Death Master looked at his tired but exceptionally determined face. She finally laughed bitterly and said, You really leave me no choice. It seems that I am unable to fulfill the final request of little junior sister. Lin Dong's body shook suddenly. He lifted his head in shock and stared firmly at the Life-Death Master. You are unable to find little junior sister's reincarnation fragments, right? The Life-Death Master lifted her head and looked towards a distant place. She was quiet for a long time before continuing. According to normal circumstances, with your power, you should be able to find her reincarnation fragments if only a short time has passed after she ignited her reincarnation. However, there is a limit to this. That limit is that this rule only applies to those born of this world. Lin Dong blankly stared at the Life-Death Master. His lips suddenly became dry from the shock in his heart. You mean? Yes, little junior sister is not someone from our plane. Hence, you won't be able to find her reincarnation fragments. The Life-Death Master laughed bitterly. She raised her head, as a certain scene flashed past her mind. It was the night before Ying Huan had gathered power in an attempt to break into the ancestor stage. On an island in the sea, was a girl with a somewhat sorrowful smile. Big senior sister, please do me a favor. The sea breeze blew over. The long crystalline hair of the girl danced, as she softly said. What is it? If anything happens to me, please help me safekeep something. I hope that you will never give this to Lin Dong. The girl's pretty eyes looked towards the east as she softly said. Why? The girl was quiet. A long time later, her weak shoulders seemed to tremble slightly. She gently folded her long legs and buried her head between her knees as she choked, because I do not wish for him to end up riddled with injuries because of me. This world already has the people he loves. He will be extremely happy as long as he forgets about me. That path will be even harder, hence, I only wish to see him smile and not get injured on that path. My heart will break if that is the case. The Life-Death Master was startled as she looked at the figure who continued to tremble under the night sky. Her eyes involuntarily became moist. The Life-Death Master gazed at the stunned Lin Dong, as she laughed bitterly. She understands you. However, it is difficult to have a clear mind when one is in the situation itself. She does not know just how difficult it is to forget someone, especially when it comes to someone as stubborn as you. She extended her small hand as she spoke, where a long and sized snow-white ice bead had appeared. A frightening chill spread from within the bead. Within the chill was a familiar scent that caused Lin Dong's heart to tremble. This was all that remained after she ignited her reincarnation. You will be able to find little junior sister if you follow it. However, you will need to head to a certain mysterious world. This path will be extremely tough. Are you certain? The Life-Death Master stared at Lin Dong and said. Lin Dong observed the snow-white ice bead that was emitting cold chi. Subsequently, his hands trembled, and they slowly received it. Cold chi surged on the ice bead, and he seemed to be able to see a familiar warmly smiling familiar face. He deeply inhaled a breath of air, and an amazing brilliance exploded within his pitch-black eyes. A familiar determination and smile once again awakened on his face. You can be rest assured that I will find her no matter what. Regardless of what kind of treacherous terrains I have to travel, or how far away you are, I will definitely catch you and keep you by my side. I will accompany you. Ling Qingzhu gently grabbed Lin Dong's large hand, and broke into a smile. Her smile was like warm sunlight, which shone deep into Lin Dong's heart. Without me, there is no telling just what a fool like you will end up doing. Lin Dong tightly grasped Ling Qingzhu's hand and laughed heartily. Of course you have to accompany me. Even if you don't agree to, I will definitely tie you to my side. He did not wish to bear that feeling of losing something again. Coincidentally, I am also quite curious about the world where the symbol ancestor and the rest came from. I will take this opportunity to have a look. No one can stop me. Ling Qingzhu looked at Lin Dong. The fatigue between his brows had been completely swept away, and a heroic look had replaced it. She smiled. That familiar Lin Dong was back. But Lin Dong suddenly seemed to recall something. He frowned and said, "We do not have any coordinates for that new world. In order to head to that place, we need to find someone who belongs to that world, and use that person as a guide to travel across the plains." Someone who belongs to that world? Ling Qingzhu thought for a moment and said, "The Yimo Emperor." "No. He has already been purified by me, and no longer has that ability." Lin Dong shook his head. He quickly clenched his teeth and said, "It doesn't matter. I will use the Dimension Eye to search. Since Ying Huan could end up in this world, there might be a second person who has also come here." Lin Dong activated the dimension power after his voice sounded. The light of primal chaos surfaced between his brows, and turned into a primal chaos eye. That eye seemed to encompass everything. Light swept forth, and swiftly fell over every corner of this world. However, it was not easy to find someone from another world here. Hence, Lin Dong began to frown as more time passed. Countless figures rushed over from behind while Lin Dong was searching the world. Little Martin, Qingtan, the Flame Master and others appeared in a flash. They felt surprised when they saw that Lin Dong had suddenly become full of life again. "Big brother Lin Dong, are you all right?" Qingtan said in a joyful manner. Her heart had been about to break when she saw Lin Dong's previous appearance. "Yes, I'm okay now." Lin Dong turned his head and smiled at Qingtan. After which, he dotingly patted her little head. With a shift of his gaze, the Dimension Eye continued its search. However, Lin Dong's body turned rigid the moment his gaze shifted away, and his expression also became strange. Subsequently, he slowly turned his head back as the primal chaos light that the Dimension Eye had turned into wrapped around Qingtan. Mysterious, dark and cold ripples surfaced on Qingtan's figure under the primal chaos light of the Dimension Eye. This fluctuation was completely different from any energy in this world. "Brother Lin Dong, what is it?" Qingtan looked at Lin Dong's stunned face, and was also surprised. She lowered her head to observe herself, before asking in a lost voice. Lin Dong merely stared at her in a stunned manner. By the side, Ling Qingzhu seemed to have realized something. She looked at Qingtan in disbelief. Could Qingtan be? Lin Dong violently swallowed his saliva and slowly nodded. Qingtan was actually someone from that world. Such a coincidence was really unimaginable. Half a year later, the mountain behind Qingyang town. Lin Dong stood in the air. Lin Xiao, Liu Yang, Little Martin and others were present by the side of the cliff. They looked at the sky, and saw space slowly splitting apart. This crack was exactly the same as the huge crack between the planes which had appeared in the void back then. "Qingzhu, Qingtan." Lin Dong beckoned his hand towards the cliff. Two enchanting figures rushed out upon hearing this, and stood on his left and right. "Big brother, once we have passed 3 reincarnation tribulations, you must bring us over to have a look." Little Martin waved his hand and cried out loudly. "Ha ha, all right. I will first head there and scout the place." Lin Dong smilingly replied. He swung his sleeve, and 8 lights rushed out from within his body. They turned into 8 ancestral symbols. One of the ancestral symbols flashed, and turned into a little girl. She was Mu Lingshan. "Lingshan, this is the newly created life-death ancestral symbol. Put it in your body and nourish it. A century later, a new life and death ancestral symbol will be born. At that time, you will no longer be restricted by it, and truly turn into a human." Lin Dong flicked his finger, and a black and white light shot into Mu Lingshan's body. "Big brother Lin Dong, make sure to come back often." Mu Lingshan waved her small hand and said. Lin Dong grinned and nodded. He was already the Dimension Master. It was extremely easy to return. "Father, mother, I am leaving." Lin Dong glanced at Lin Xiao and Liu Yang as he spoke. "Little fellow, if you cannot bring back 2 daughter-in-laws, you can forget about returning." Lin Xiao waved his large hand and smilingly chided. Liu Yang by the side glared at him in an accusing fashion. Lin Dong smiled upon hearing this. He looked at the slowly widening crack and clenched his hand. I will definitely find you this time. A thought passed through his mind. Lin Dong subsequently pulled Ling Qingshu and Qingtan as he rushed forward. The dimension power enveloped the three of them. Finally, they shot into the dimensional crack in front of everyone. Everyone watched the crack slowly mend itself, and heaved a long sigh. Some curiosity towards that world appeared as they lamented. What would await them there? Chaotic Demon Sea, Flame Divine Hall. Tang Xinlian looked towards the distant eastern Xian region from a pavilion, as a complicated expression flitted across her pretty eyes. That fellow Lin Dong should have already left this plane. How envious. I also wish to go and take a look. A laughter suddenly sounded behind her. Tang Xinlian turned her head, and glanced at Mo Luo. However, she did not speak. My prideful disciple is really pitiful. One-sided love is too tough. Mo Luo sighed. Master, what nonsense are you sprouting? Tang Xinlian's pretty face reddened as she cried out in a furious and embarrassed manner. Mo Luo smiled. Soon after, he helplessly said, why don't you voice out your feelings for him? Liking him does not mean that I must be together with him. Tang Xinlian replied with an enchanting smile. She lazily stretched her waist, revealing her alluring curves as she laughed. Moreover, there are so many men in this world. If worst comes to worst, I will fall for someone else. There are indeed many men. However, it is very difficult to find one who is more outstanding than him. Mo Luo thought for a moment and seriously said. Moreover, will you really fall for another man? That is hard to say. Tang Xinlian smiled sweetly and said, the number of men who like me can queue from the chaotic demon sea to the demon region. I am an extremely fickle person, and will not remain faithful to anyone forever. Mo Luo grinned and said, let's have a bet. You will confess to him if you do not fall for anyone the next time he returns. What do you say? Tang Xinlian's face became red. She glared at him and bit her red lips. Her pretty eyes were like water as she revealed a bewitching smile. All right. Shuttling through the plains. A ray of light flashed past. Three figures were vaguely visible within the light. Lin Dong grabbed Qingtan with one arm, and carefully sensed the fluctuations which originated from a certain mysterious world within her body. After which, he corrected his direction. They had been traveling across the plains for nearly a month. Big brother Lin Dong, we still not there? Qingtan looked at the dimensional torrents around her, and asked in a bored voice. We should arrive soon. Lin Dong chuckled. His expression suddenly changed, as the speed at which they were traveling slowed. He looked at the extremely distant place as the dimension eye surfaced between his brows. His sight penetrated through the dimension fog. Suddenly, he saw three figures in a far-off place. The group also consisted of one man and two women, and they seemed to be lovers. The man in the middle wore a black robe and carried a huge black ruler on his back. Lin Dong seemed to sense an extremely hot fluctuation from the latter's body. The moment Lin Dong penetrated through the fog and saw the black-robed man, the latter also seemed to felt it. He lifted his head, and those black eyes looked in Lin Dong's direction. After which, a friendly smile appeared. Moreover, he gently cupped his hands together from afar. Lin Dong saw this and also smilingly cupped his hands together. However, he did not linger. With a wave of his sleeve, he brought Qingshu and Qingtan and continued their journey. That mysterious world was almost within reach. The Lin Dong trio disappeared into the distance. In that same distant place, the two ladies beside the black-robed man noticed his actions. The elegant and extremely pretty lady smilingly asked, "What is it, Brother Xiao Yang?" "Nothing. I saw an extremely powerful person. I do not know why, but I feel some affinity towards him. Hopefully, we will meet again. Let's go." The black-robed man laughed, and did not say anything else. With a wave of his sleeve, the trio turned into a ray of light that gradually disappeared. The direction they were headed in was also that new world. It would certainly be a most interesting place. From this point the great thousand-world story is star. And the Ice Spirit Tribe is one of the sect of Great Thousand Worlds. The BTTH and Martial Universe next story cover in the Great Ruler novel. So we will start next novel, The Great Ruler of Great Thousand Worlds. Ice Spirit Tribe Story 1. The northwest land of the Ice Spirit continent. Ice spikes covered a rather sinister-looking towering ice mountain that rose steeply from the ground. The mountain was covered in a layer of thick ice, and seemed to give off an ice-blue glow. Under the rays of the sun, it reflected a cold and lonely light. A figure in a black robe was currently standing on the icy peak with his hands behind his back. He lifted his head a little, revealing the knife-like side of his face. From this angle, he appeared very determined. He had a pair of black eyes that were deep as the night. An ancient feeling swirled in the depths of these eyes, as if they had experienced reincarnation itself. He lifted his head and peered into the distance, where space was violently distorting. A titanic ice door was faintly discernible, while an overwhelming aura that originated from ancient times slowly spread. This was the spatial gate that led to the ancestral land of the Ice Spirit Tribe. Rustle. While he observed the giant ice gate, the faint sounds of footsteps were suddenly heard from behind. He turned around, and looked at the four figures that had appeared, as a smile surfaced on his resolute face. How is it? The four which had appeared consisted of 2 men and 2 women. The young woman leading them was fairer than snow and dressed in white. Her beauty could cause the downfall of nations, and her aloof demeanor was akin to a snow lotus, causing others to feel inferior in comparison. At the white-clothed lady's side was a lass in a black dress. Her appearance was attractive, but a dignified and stern look surged in her beautiful eyes. However, when this girl looked at the man before them, a sweet and gentle smile immediately surfaced on her pretty face. She grinned as she pounced over and intimately grabbed his sleeve. Big brother Lin Dong, we made sure to clearly ask about it. There is indeed an Ice Spirit tablet within the Ice Spirit Tribe. It is the ultimate treasure of the tribe, and it is said that anyone who possesses the bloodline of Ice Spirit royalty will leave behind an Ice Spirit inside it at birth. I believe that Huan soul fragments are definitely within it. Really? Upon hearing this piece of news, a smile of being relieved from a great burden appeared on the determined face of the man before their eyes, who had been as stable as a mountain even during countless thrilling experiences. However, the Ice Spirit tablet is the ultimate treasure of the Ice Spirit Tribe. They will never allow an outsider to approach. The fairer-than-snow beauty in white softly said. The man called Lin Dong frowned as he replied, "You've talked with them." "We've talked. The Ice Spirit Tribe side have said that they have no intentions of negotiating. They insist that we leave at once." The one who spoke this time was a bewitchingly handsome slim young man. Such looks would cause envy to rise even in the hearts of many women. However, his pretty boy face was ice cold, and gave off an aura of extreme unapproachability. "Looks like our martial realm is being looked down upon by others." He faintly grinned as cold killing intent was revealed in those slightly narrowed peach blossom pupils. "Big brother, why not we just go ahead and do it? A mere Ice Spirit Tribe. Do they really think that us 3 brothers are so easily bullied? I do not believe that they will still refuse to hand over the Ice Spirit tablet after we turn their world upside down." A muffled thunder-like voice rang out, as a metal tower-like figure stood up behind the bewitchingly handsome man. His shadow practically engulfed the entire group. He had a rather rough appearance, and his arms were covered in sinister-looking scars. Merely standing there caused an ominous aura to fill the air, as if he was a monstrous ferocious tiger, and even space itself started to tremble. Turning their world upside down is not an issue, but what if they are driven into desperation and destroy the Ice Spirit tablet? The bewitchingly handsome man icily said. The metal tower-like man awkwardly scratched his head, and did not dare to speak any further. He knew how great a price Big Brother had paid for this glimmer of hope. If this last hope was destroyed, he was really unable to imagine what kind of blow would be dealt to Big Brother. "Then what should we do, second brother?" the metal tower-like man asked in a thunder-like voice. The bewitchingly handsome man did not reply, but merely looked to the man in front of them. Lin Dong tilted his head and gazed at the faintly discernible giant ice gate in the distance. He was silent for a long time, before he slowly said, I have already waited so many years for this day. Thus, I will not give up no matter what. Then shall we take action? The bewitchingly handsome man inquired. Lin Dong smiled as he shook his head and replied, let me do it this time. You guys return to the martial realm. It was recently established, and needs all of you to oversee it. Big brother Lin Dong, you intend to charge into the Ice Spirit tribe alone. The girl in black was alarmed, and hastily spoke out, no can do. This Ice Spirit tribe is extremely powerful. It is very dangerous for you to go alone. Soon after, her pretty eyes turned slightly frosty, as she made a clenching motion with her hand, and a scythe of darkness appeared within it. The dark aura from the one that was once the master of darkness exploded as she said, if we join hands, even the Ice Spirit tribe will not dare to try anything funny. That's right, big brother. The thing that these ancient tribes love to do the most is to bully others with a numerical advantage. The metal tower-like man also thundered. Lin Dong waved his hands, we cannot possibly completely fall out with the Ice Spirit tribe. Moreover, Huan is after all a member of the tribe, and she has a similar bloodline to them. If I go alone, the most disastrous situation will not occur. As they looked at his resolute face, the four knew that they could not longer persuade him, and could only nod in the end. Then we will first return to the martial realm. If there are any problems, immediately send us a message. The bewitchingly handsome man looked at Lin Dong as he slowly continued, we are brothers. We will follow you even if you are going to break apart the heavens. Lin Dong smiled a little as he replied, don't worry. What kind of storms have we not seen after so many years? A mere Ice Spirit tribe cannot stop me. Then be careful. The bewitchingly handsome man nodded. Without further ado, he took a step back as light blossomed, and disappeared together with the metal tower-like man. Big brother Lin Dong, we will wait for you in the martial realm. Although the girl in black was a little unhappy, she knew that this was not the time to cause a fuss. Therefore, she also turned and left after speaking. As the three of them left, only Lin Dong and the fairer-than-snow beauty remained on the icy peak. Lin Dong gazed at the woman who had followed him all the way from the lower realms to this great thousand worlds. An apologetic look appeared in his eyes, but before he could say anything, an ice-cold hand gently covered his mouth. Do not apologize. She could take even that final step for you. If you do not do this, you will not be the Lin Dong I know. The woman softly said. Qingzhu, wait for me to bring her back. Lin Dong reached out and hugged the woman's slim waist as he softly said by her ear. The absolute beauty in his arms lightly nodded. Soon after, she took 2 steps back. Her enchanting body flickered, and she also gradually vanished. The icy peak once again became silent. Lin Dong turned around, and blankly stared at the distant giant ice gate. He did not take action immediately, but instead slowly sat down. With his back against an ice-cold rock, he gently closed his eyes, as painful and rather distant memories slowly became clearer bit by bit, as if they had been dug out again after being unused for a long time. In a place known as the Chaotic Demon Sea on a plain known as the Tianxian continent, the Yimo Emperor had torn apart the seal between the plains, and descended once again. All life in the world was in danger. The end days had arrived, and all had started to despair. The girl that everyone had placed their final hopes on had gathered the power of the world, and attacked the ancestor stage. But everything had fallen through due to the lack of one final push. In a world filled with despair and terror, the girl had cried as she watched him smile. Her sobbing voice was still as clear as ever. The truth is, I have long known that this would be the outcome. Even all of this power cannot enable anyone to reach the ancestor stage. Moreover, the forceful raising of one's cultivation stage will result in extreme repercussions. The current me can no longer reach the ancestor stage. How can it be so easy to truly reach the ancestor stage? However, it is all within expectation. Hence, I have actually still succeeded. Because I knew that this would be the result, I rejected your intentions to replace me. Sorry, I did not mean to overlook your efforts. I know of all that you have done. Sorry. I had lied to you since the beginning. I made you enter the ancestral citadel to create the divine palace, and even forced you to undergo 3 reincarnation tribulations. I truly am the one whom you hate the most." At that very moment, everyone in the world watched the sobbing girl covering her mouth in the sky, as her sobbing voice slowly echoed across the area. "You? What exactly do you plan on doing?" His heart had been about to be torn apart as he watched her cry. "I'm sorry. I only want you to live." Her pretty eyes had been entirely red. Tears gathered in her eyes, as her soft voice struck him like thunder. She slowly backed away, while her voice rang out in the ears of everyone in the plane. "I pray with my soul. With my body. With my soul. With my blood. I call upon the spirits of the world, divine transformation, ancestral path." Ice blue flames rose in spirals, completely engulfing her body, as her somewhat choking voice slowly spread. "Sorry. I do not want to protect the world, nor do I want to be its savior. But I want you to live. Lin Dong, thank you for allowing me to fall in love with you before I awakened, and thank you for giving me so many beautiful moments. You allowed me to understand, no matter how icy the heart, there will eventually be a time for it to blossom. You once asked me if I was the Ice Master or Ying Huan Huan. The current me can tell you, fool, what Ice Master, I have been Ying Huan Huan all along." On the icy peak, Lin Dong leaned against a ice-cold rock, as a girl's sobbing voice seemed to cross time and space and echoed by his ear. He slowly opened his eyes, as tears flowed down his determined face. A figure seemed to appear before his eyes once again. She had her hands behind her back, while her jet-black ponytail bounced in a lively manner. That pretty face was filled with a crafty yet lovable smile. Everything was the same as it had been many years before when they first met in Dao Sect. Lin Dong lifted his head and gazed at the distant giant ice gate in the distorted space. He slowly reached out his hand, as lightning blossomed from his palm. Lightning dragons coiled around the lightning emperor scepter that had appeared in his hand. He tightly grasped the scepter as he slowly stood up. In his black eyes was a determination that could not be shaken. "I have walked the entirety of reincarnation just to meet you. No matter what, no matter how great the price. Even if I have to ascend the heavens or descend to the depths of hell, I will bring you back. And now? I am here." Ice Spirit Tribe Side Story 2. Ancestral Land of the Ice Spirit Tribe. The Great Hall was filled with singing, dancing, and flute music. Numerous Ice Spirit Tribe experts were currently gathered within this Great Hall. Boundless spirit power pulsed, causing space to ripple. However, even in this congregation of experts, the 4 figures at the head position of the hall were undoubtedly the focal point. Every word or action of theirs made the numerous experts in the Great Hall feel a kind of pressure that was difficult to describe. At the central head seat of the Great Hall was an elder wearing a blue robe. The elder's face gave off an azure glow, and a terrifying chill spread with every movement he made, causing frost to continuously form in the surroundings. Even the spirit power that had gathered around him would transform into dazzling multicolored crystal fragments due to the terrifying cold chi. Every time spirit power was frozen into ice, the elder would draw in a breath, and swallow them into his body. Boundless spirit power faintly surged within his eyes. Ancestors' ice underworld divine art is rapidly approaching the pinnacle of perfection. While the elder displayed his domineering absorption method, the numerous high-ranking Ice Spirit Tribe members in the Great Hall burst out in praise. Words of flattery were unceasingly sent out without any embarrassment. This was because this elder was currently the most powerful practitioner in the Ice Spirit Tribe. He was known as Ice Spirit Ancestor, and was a true blue heavenly sovereign. He had a tyrannical reputation even in the Great Thousand Worlds, and was also the greatest pillar that supported the Ice Spirit Tribe. Ice Spirit Ancestor merely smiled in response to such flattery. "With my old pal Snow Devil here, this ice underworld divine art of mine is really nothing to boast about." While he spoke, his smiling gaze turned towards the 3 seats below. On the rightmost seat was an elder with a white beard and white hair. This old man's skin was as white as snow, while his long white beard hung before him, making him appear like an immortal. When he heard Ice Spirit Ancestor's laughter, he also smiled as he shook his head, Brother Ice Spirit, this old man cannot hold a candle to your ice underworld divine art. Although his words were so, this white-haired elder's eyes had a slight smiling expression. It was clear that his inner thoughts were not completely in line with his words. His expression was seen by everyone, yet no one was offended by it. This elder was after all similarly a famous peak practitioner in the Great Thousand Worlds. He was known as Snow Devil Old Man and had been friends with Ice Spirit Ancestor for many years. Ice Spirit Ancestor and him were equally powerful, and neither of the two was stronger than the other. You two old fellows clearly intend on suppressing the other, yet you still act in such a hypocritical manner. While this exchange occurred between Ice Spirit Ancestor and Snow Devil Old Man, a mocking voice emerged from the side. It gave no face at all the two exceedingly powerful heavenly sovereigns. If any ordinary person was to speak in such a manner, he would likely have long been vaporized to dust. Yet, Ice Spirit Ancestor and Snow Devil Old Man merely chuckled when they heard this, before their gazes turned towards the one who had spoken. The speaker was a tall and well-built elder. This elder wore a black robe, while his eyes glowed purple gold. A dragon's roar seemed to faintly echo within his loud and clear voice. While he sat there, a pressure that caused one's scalp to turn numb spread. It was as if he was a terrible and ferocious dragon. Dragon Sovereign's tongue is still so sharp after so many years. Ice Spirit Ancestor grinned as he spoke. His tone indicated that he did not mind the well-built black-robed elder's mocking words at all. It was because this black-robed elder was a grand elder of the Great Thousand Worlds dragon tribe. His fighting prowess was outstanding, and his true body was that of a pure-blood true dragon. This was also an existence that was comparable to a heavenly sovereign. He was known as Dragon Sovereign. Dragon Sovereign curled his lips and said, "You old fogies have only reached the heavenly sovereign level after cultivating for so many years. Compared to Battle Emperor, such cultivation might as well be put on a dog." Upon hearing Dragon Sovereign's vicious words, Ice Spirit Ancestor and Snow Devil Old Man bitterly smiled as they shook their heads. Their somewhat envious gazes were cast towards the far left seat, finding the figure that had been smiling at them since the beginning. The figure wore a gold robe, and gave off a majestic and imposing aura. In contrast to Ice Spirit Ancestor and the rest, this person's appearance was rather young. His handsome face was like a dagger scabbard, and a smile hung from the corners of his mouth. This elegance made him the most dazzling existence in the Great Hall. In particular, the beauties of the Ice Spirit tribe could not help but look at him with longing. They constantly peered at the golden-robed man with slightly flushed faces. It was clear that they had been smitten by his elegance. Compared to old monsters like Ice Spirit Ancestor and the rest, this golden-robed man was at the peak of his prime. Though this golden-robed man was the last to begin his cultivation journey amongst them, there was not even the slightest contempt in the sharp-tongued Dragon Sovereign's eyes when he looked at the former. Instead, there was great wariness. It was because the man before their eyes had not only reached the heavenly sovereign stage at such a young age, but over the recent years, he had traveled far and wide to challenge others, and had not suffered a single defeat. Hence, his domineering and peerless title as Battle Emperor in the Great Thousand Worlds. If it was one-on-one, regardless of whether it was Ice Spirit Ancestor, Snow Devil Old Man or Dragon Sovereign, it was likely that none of them would be able to defeat him. Battle Emperor's talent is without equal. It is likely that he will be able to aim for the saint-grade Heavenly Sovereign level in future. This is not something that old fellows like us can match. Snow Devil Old Man sighed as he enviously remarked. Ice Spirit Ancestor and Dragon Sovereign felt the same way. The heavenly sovereigns of the Great Thousand Worlds were split into 3 grades, the Spirit Grade, Celestial Grade and Saint Grade. All of them were currently at the Spirit Grade. Battle Emperor smiled a little and said, "The Saint Grade is indeed my goal. I believe that I should be able to take that step." Although he was smiling as he spoke, his tone was exceptionally determined. It was as if he had extreme confidence in himself, and a faint domineering aura was revealed. No one refuted such arrogance. Instead, they believed that he was amply determined. This was because he did have the qualifications. While the atmosphere in the Great Hall was at its peak, a ray of light suddenly shot in from outside. In the end, it turned into a little ice bird that landed on Ice Spirit Ancestor's shoulders and started chirping incessantly. Upon hearing the little ice bird's chirps, the originally smiling expression in the eyes of Ice Spirit Ancestor abruptly darkened, as an invisible mighty pressure spread. The originally festive Great Hall immediately became completely silent. Reverence was revealed in the eyes of numerous Ice Spirit tribe experts as they looked towards their ancestor. The only three that were not affected by Ice Spirit Ancestor were the three heavenly sovereigns, Battle Emperor, Dragon Sovereign, and Snow Devil Old Man. "What is it?" Snow Devil Old Man asked. Ice Spirit Ancestor's complexion was a little ugly as he snorted, "The foolishly arrogant fellow from the lower planes actually has delusions of borrowing my Ice Spirit tribe's Ice Spirit tablet to revive his wife. Does he not know that the Ice Spirit tablet is the ultimate treasure of my tribe? It will suffer every time it is used. How can it be lent to an outsider? This old man has repeatedly rejected his request. It is unexpected that this fellow not only refuses to back off, but instead has the gall to forcibly break into my Ice Spirit tribe ancestral land. Such arrogance." Towards the end, Ice Spirit Ancestor had already exploded in anger. Frightening cold chi rose around his body, and the sounds of things being frozen emerged in the Great Hall. Forcibly break into the ancestral land? This person from the lower plains is indeed arrogant. Snow Devil Old Man the rest exchanged a look, before they let out a chuckle. The Great Thousand Worlds was the gathering point of the countless lower plains. Thus, the Great Thousand Worlds experts would look upon those from the lower plains with contempt. How could they not laugh when they heard that a reckless fellow from the lower plains actually intended to break into the Ice Spirit tribe ancestral land? With Ice Spirit Ancestor overseeing the Ice Spirit tribe, even the full-powered attacks of a heavenly sovereign would not find success. Ice Spirit Ancestor's expression was dark. He suddenly waved his sleeve, and an ice mirror was formed before them. An ancient ice tablet silently towered within the ice mirror. "This old man wants to see just who in my tribe would marry such a peasant." With a flick of his finger, a chilling light landed on the Ice Spirit tablet, an icy light instantly flickered on it. In the end, the light converged, and a beautiful figure gradually appeared. The figure's eyes were tightly shut, and her long hair glowed with an ice-blue brilliance. Her expression was cold as frost, but she was very beautiful, while a faint yet extremely cold aura spread from her. Many became breathless when the sight of this beautiful figure landed in their eyes. Subsequently, the branch tribe leaders of the Ice Spirit tribe frowned in thought, but ultimately shook their heads towards Ice Spirit Ancestor, indicating that this woman was not part of their tribe. "Not part of my tribe." Ice Spirit Ancestor was taken aback as he spoke in astonishment. Then how did her soul fragment appear in the Ice Spirit tablet? "Only the royal bloodline of my tribe have this qualification." The various branch tribe leaders looked at each other. Moments later, someone spoke out with a pondering tone. "It is recorded in our ancestral archives that there was once a branch of the royal line that broke away from our Ice Spirit tribe in the distant past. There was subsequently no news from them, and it was believed that they had been wiped out. This woman might belong to that particular branch." Only after hearing this did Ice Spirit Ancestor nod his head, and coldly said, "Since they have already broken away from the tribe, don't even think of using the Ice Spirit tribe to revive. Heh, the talent of this soul fragment is extraordinary. If Old Ice finds it troublesome, please grant it to my humble self. I will definitely properly take care of it." At this moment, Battle Emperor's eyes suddenly brightened a little as he gazed at the beautiful figure within the Ice Spirit tablet and said. Ice Spirit Ancestor was stunned. Soon after, he recalled that Battle Emperor was someone who appreciates beauty. He immediately waved his hands, and said with a smile, "If Battle Emperor is interested, this old man will bestow this soul fragment upon you after the intruder is dealt with." It was definitely worth it if a mere soul fragment could create closer relations with Battle Emperor. Battle Emperor chuckled upon hearing this and replied, "Then I'll have to thank Old Ice. If my help is needed, feel free to ask." By the side, Snow Devil Old Man and Dragon Sovereign also nodded, indicating that they would lend their aid. After all, the Ice Spirit tribe was very powerful and it was beneficial to have a closer relation with them. Ice Spirit Ancestor grinned upon seeing this. "This old man thanks you for your good intentions. However, a mere peasant from the lower plains is unworthy of your attention. You only need to watch from behind. After speaking, he coldly looked towards the Ice Spirit tribe branch leaders, and smiled icily. Activate the Great Array. This old man wants to see exactly where this fellow from the lower plains found the courage to break into my Ice Spirit tribe ancestral land. Understood. In the Great Hall, numerous Ice Spirit tribe experts immediately responded. They transformed into countless flashes of light and shot forth. In an instant, terrifying spirit power soared in the Ice Spirit tribe domain as layers of icy halos spread. The cold chi at the entrance to the ancestral land domain was as vast as the sea, and seemed to freeze space itself, while countless figures stood in the surrounding air. Spirit power pulsed like an inescapable net, completely enveloping the area within 100,000 feet. An ice lotus rose in the air behind them. Ice Spirit Ancestor was seated on it, as he frostily looked at the entrance to the ancestral land domain. All the defenses of the ancestral land had been fully activated at this moment. Furthermore, with Ice Spirit Ancestor here, even a heavenly sovereign would only be able to retreat in defeat. The entire area was silent while bitter cold descended. It was a cold filled with endless killing intent. The experts of the Ice Spirit tribe were focused on the entrance. Cold chi engulfed the area. Suddenly, Ice Spirit Ancestor's eyes narrowed, and his stern gaze shot towards the ancestral land entrance, only to see violent ripples emerging. He really dared to come. Truly a reckless fool. Ice Spirit Ancestor's rage hit the peak as he darkly said. Cold chi unfurled as the faint footsteps of someone walking through the air was heard. The gazes of countless Ice Spirit tribe experts gathered, and they watched as a figure gradually appeared within the endless cold chi. The figure stood tall and straight, while his aura was unfathomable like the deep abyss. Lightning spread from the lightning emperor scepter he wielded. His expression was akin to an ancient well as he stood before the countless experts of the Ice Spirit tribe. Subsequently, a voice echoed within the ancestral land domain. Martial Realms Lin Dong has come to visit this noble tribe to borrow the Ice Spirit tablet. This video will end here.